We made it. Man, was this a long week. Really seriously, you know how they talk about your life can change in an instant? Ours did. Whew. So thank you to everyone for who has sent prayers and cards and emails. We are super grateful for your love. And I am also really grateful for the distraction that this community has provided as we navigated this storm that's inherent with life. Just a quick update, my husband is doing well. He was able to return to work today, so I'm happy that Ashley is here with us on the live stream. And hopefully you all are going to get notifications and we're going to see some folks signing in. In the meantime, while that notification is going out, I am going to address some of the questions that we had on the docket for last week. But before I do that, we had a really wonderful new tradition that we wanted to start called What's in Your Mug? So we both have our mugs here, and in mine, Ashley has prepared for me some Zen tea. And what is in yours, Ashley?
And then in mine, I have a black tea. It's one of the yogi teas called Vanilla Spice Perfect Energy. And I like this brand of tea because they have little mantras that are on the little tea tags. So mine says today, they're different every day. Mine says, your greatest strength is love.
Oh, that is so true. And it really was love that got us through what we've just been through. And I think my husband could definitely feel everyone's love too. So again, I'm so grateful for all of the love that this community has expressed for us. So the questions, if you want to let us know what's in your mug, that's great. And Ashley's going to keep an eye out for if there's anything unusual in anyone's mug this morning. Sometimes there might be some in mine, but just kidding. Okay, so we have some questions that were submitted last time that I know you've been now patiently waiting. And so I am going to answer some of those for you while you all submit your questions on the chat. Carol asked, when making a tote bag and you measure out the fabric for the interior, how come sometimes the interior doesn't fit right? Mine always seem to be a bit bigger than the exterior, even though I start out with the right sizes of fabric. Usually I end up ripping out the seams and taking larger seams for them to fit just right. But I see how yours and others just pop in and fit right from the get-go. Ugh. So this is an excellent question, Carol. And when I first started sewing, I was making just a very, very basic tote bags. And I remember I'd work on it and I'd show it to my husband. And I'd say, what do you think? And the very first thing he would say is he would look at those side seams and he'd say, can you align those? And I would say, are you crazy? That's impossible. I can't possibly do that. And then I'd be irritated with him that he just didn't think it was wonderful. But that's what's happening. If your side seams aren't aligned, then that means either your interior or your exterior is a different size. So the reason that that's happening could be you're not using the same seam allowance, which is very important. So when I'm sewing bags, I stick with the 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. And the only reason that I choose that is on my Janome, there's a very clear marker. So pick a seam allowance that on your machine is very easy for you to identify. And then when you're sewing, you're just aligning that fabric with that seam allowance. And once you have that set point for your eye, you will find that your interior and exterior will line up. Now, there are two other things that could be going wrong. That might be like if you have batting or interfacing for the exterior, especially if it was an iron-on like Pellon product, that exterior fabric now loses its give or its stretch, and then that interior fabric. So you'll want to pay attention again to what's happening there. But let's say you have a beautiful bag and that inside is still too big. I have a solution for you. Go ahead and just take at the center points of the front and the back and just make a little pleat. Just fold it over like a pleat and no one will be any wiser. Your side seams will line up so your husband can't complain. And you'll just have these two cute little pleats and everyone will think it's on purpose. So that's my tip for you, Carol. Do we have any questions yet, Ashley, in the live stream that we can maybe flip between the two? Or did I go to Susan's questions? Okay. Susan says, I made a tote bag and wasn't thinking when I attached the straps. My purse turned out wonderful, but the straps are too long. I don't want to rip my seams apart to shorten them. Got any ideas? If I cut them, you will see the seams at the top of the shoulder. Maybe shoulder pads? I don't know. And I laughed at the shoulder pads because I am actually old enough to remember shoulder pads, and we thought they were so cool. And now thinking about it, they look ridiculous. Did anybody else remember shoulder pads? Do you even know what they are?
I do know what they are, but they're not stylish.
You can't buy them anywhere, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so we would have these really boxy shoulders. What were we thinking? That was a bad idea. Okay, so the purse handles being too long. I'm super finicky about the drop on my handle because I do not want the bag hanging all the way down by my thighs. And I don't want it so tight that I can't put it on my shoulder. So I sympathize with you that you don't want to ruin this bag. So what I suggested to Susan was take that strap and fold it over just a bit on each side and maybe attach like a D-ring to that. And you can just clip your car keys on that or any other gadget that you want. You might be able to put a little charm on the D-ring or something. But again, rather than cut the strap or rip out the seams, just fold it over and stitch it down. You know, on backpack straps where they have like the X, the cross stitching. So I think that that's a better solution than having to ruin the bag, and it adds functionality. With both of those questions, that is a great way to learn as you go, because when things don't plan out, work out exactly like you planned, like last week for our live stream, it's an opportunity to learn. And same is true with sewing. Somebody doesn't work out, just stop for a minute and say, what can I learn from this? Or how can I improve that design is really key. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. My best designs were originally mistakes. So don't give up on that. Any questions? Now, some other people, Janet remembers shoulder pads. Dynasty, oh my gosh, yes. All right. Sandy asks, the noticed flitted across my screen when you were going live, but then I could not find you anywhere. Where do I see you live on Tuesday? I caught the rerun. Great job. Thank you, Sandy. And I am going to let Ashley attempt to answer this because this platform is brand new to me and I'm just thrilled we got this far.
So if you're on a laptop or a desktop, if you go to Sewspire's home page on YouTube, so if you have to click Sewspire, you're going to see it's going to be on that top left corner. It's going to say live. And it's going to look like a regular video, but you're just going to click that and you're going to be able to join. And it's going to open up a screen and you're going to see that the chat's going to be on the right-hand side. So it's probably going to say top chat. You just have to click that button to be able to view it. And you can only chat when we are live, but otherwise you can view the chat if you're rewatching the video. If you're going to be on like an iPad, you're going to have to hold your iPad, facing vertical rather than horizontal, because the chat's only going to be viewed when it's vertical like this. So you're going to see the stream of chat. And also, too, it's going to say top chat, and you'll be able to hit that button. As far as if you're viewing us on a mobile device, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to view the chat, but you can definitely still view the live stream. I think that chat is only going to work if you're on an iPad or a desktop or a laptop. But if any of you are on a mobile device and you can view the chat, let us know.
And then they can always comment. So even though you won't be part of the chat when it's even the rerun or whatever you call it, replay, you can still comment. And I do try to reply to all the comments I can, with the exception of this week, which I got a little bit behind. A play off of that, they're also curious how to use the translator. Do you have any idea? One person in particular wasn't able to translate Do you know if there is anything that you can push to translate, or if YouTube or Google does that
I
automatically?
don't think YouTube will do it while we're in a live stream. I know for some of the videos on YouTube after the fact, you can do captioning, which will translate it into whatever language you're looking for, but I'm not sure if they have that in every language. That's something we can look more into and get an answer for you all next week.
Okay, cool. Thank you, Ashley. All right, and then Tina writes, she has a two-part question. Are you willing to do a video on a full apron with pockets, or is this out of your scope? You mentioned I could make one for a wedding. I actually do have a pattern that I use for a classic ticking apron, which I love. I used to sell these. They were very popular when I had my brick and mortar shop, and they made beautiful wedding gifts, beautiful housewarming gifts. And then I would monogram the front. And my husband, I actually made him one, and he has it. So we have one. I'll have Ashley make a note for me to bring that in, and I'll show that to you all in the vlog on Thursday. And then if we want to make that, it's actually a really fun, easy sew. I do prefer to make them out of the ticking though. So if that sounds good to you all, let us know and we could add the apron to the list. And then Tina's second question is, I'm a little confused about the forseam.com sewing mentorship as to what does read only mean and what all is offered with both packages. If you could please be more specific, I would appreciate that. And Ashley also has the answer to that question because this is one of her summer projects. She's totally revamping the forseam.com for me and doing an amazing job. So do you want to tell her the differences between the two levels?
Sure. So the read-only membership, that's going to give you access to all of the video content that my mom's produced. So essentially, just to recap for those of you who don't know what the fourth seam is, my mom is giving away her entire basically business plan of how she made $250,000 on Etsy. So if you're a beginner Etsy shop creator, or if you have been in the Etsy business for a little bit and you want some guidance, these videos answer a wide variety of different questions that she has covered and topics. And then she also has the content written in addition to the videos. So that's the read-only membership, and that's $9.99. Now, if you want the all-inclusive membership, it has those two things, the videos and the read content. But in addition, for 6 months, you're going to get unlimited email support. So if you have any questions as you're moving through the content, or you want to apply it to your own personal Etsy shop, my mom's going to kind of be there to guide you through that process as you need it. And it also, the all-inclusive membership lets you have a 30-minute phone call, and that can be just an audio phone call or also a FaceTime phone call to discuss more in depth as it relates to your own specific Etsy shop. And for those of you who have joined the newsletter, the most recent newsletter that went out, there at the very bottom of the newsletter, it talked about the fourth seam. So you can click on either of the memberships there to learn more information, or you can just go to thefourthseam.com, and it will also have all of the information right there on the website, as well as a couple of sneak peek videos so you can expect what the content's going to look like too.
Yes, and then as an added bonus, we've created a closed group page exclusively for the Foreseam members. Then I found out yesterday, I was so excited. FaceTime is going to be able to support 32 users on a live streaming type platform. So we are going to definitely employ that over in that closed Facebook group. So if you join for the $9.99, an added benefit is access to that group forever. So that will allow you, of course, to interact with other business owners that are at the same stage you are, just starting out. And that's where so far most of our fourth seam clients have been. They really are starting at the very bottom and making their way up. So I'm super excited about that. And again, thank you. You've done an amazing job. This kid is very smart.
Thanks.
Okay, so any more questions there?
You do have a question.
Okay, what do we got?
Let me find it. Denise asks, what number interfacing do you use the most?
Oh, yes, and I should write that down. I copy and paste it all the time. I don't know if you can search the comments and then make a note of it, but it is Pelon, and I have it saved in my notes. And I just grabbed the same one off the shelf at Walmart, and it's less than $3 a yard. But I don't think that I'm going to be able to search that for you right now. But I will also make a note and get that number for you. I should actually add something to the website. I think, Ash, this would be a great idea, of my favorite products. Let's put it in the newsletter tomorrow. Okay? I'm going to write that down. You see, this is a mirror behind me. How cool is this? When I invited Ashley to come out and work with me for the summer, there are mirrors that span this entire studio. I had a giant mind map that filled up an entire mirror of everything she wanted to do. But let me make those 2 notes so I don't forget. So in the newsletter, we'll put my favorite supplies. So if you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you can do that at sewspire.com. And then I need in that the Pelon. So Denise, is that who asked?
Yes.
Look for that answer in newsletter. That's a perfect solution for us. And I will also try and put a picture of that apron in the newsletter too, for Tina, so she can see that. All right, so this question I absolutely love. Ruth says, I've always wondered, is there a reason why you choose to join your outside to the lining by turning each in half or full inch rather than leave a gap in the lining and then turning it through? This is definitely going to be one of the methods that I teach in the design course, which is still in the works, but excellent, excellent question. When I first started learning how to sew, I knew I wanted to make bags, and I would follow people's patterns. And I just really thought it was stupid to take this beautiful bag and bunch it all up into a hot mess and pull it out like you're giving birth. I said, why are we doing this? And then I went out to iron it, and everything would be a mess. So that isn't my honest answer. To me, it's so much neater and tidier, and I don't have to re-iron the bag. So that's the answer. And my apologies to all the pattern designers that want you to bunch it up and flip it through this little tiny hole. All right. Anything else?
No more questions yet. So if you all have questions, feel free to go ahead and send them in the chat. I know I've seen a couple more people join us since we started live streaming.
Yes, we do. And if you'll give a thumbs up too, that's nice for us too. Okay, Marie asked, and this one I actually have to give a little thought to. So let's see what I got for you, Marie. It says, what is your secret to perfect zippers? Sometimes mine are beautiful and other times forget it. Is there a secret to installing a professional looking zipper? All right, so seriously, for like 5 years or more, I was like, first a power seller on Etsy, and then not on Etsy, on eBay. I got my start on eBay. I was already a power seller on eBay. I had tons of custom orders, terrified of zippers. Terrified. I turned away so much business. I don't do zippers. That was my rule. And I wish I could even remember what got me over that. I honestly don't remember what got me over zippers, and that's why I say I'll have to give it some thought, because I don't think that I have a secret to zippers. I'm not afraid of them anymore. I guess if there is maybe one secret, I do something a little different than some of you might think is odd. I do not use a zipper foot. I really, with my sewing, again, this is like the flipping versus giving birth to your bag. I try to keep it as simple as possible because I sew so much and have such a high volume of custom orders with my Etsy shop that I just don't have time to make things complex. So with the zippers, I don't switch the foot on it. What I do, the secret, I move the needle position. I don't keep that needle at center. So depending which side of the zipper I'm on, I'll move the needle to the left or the needle to the right. And then the only other, I do have one zipper nightmare story to tell you that haunts me every time I do a zipper. When I first started making the diaper bags, the zip top diaper bag pattern, which you can order in my Etsy shop, I added the zipper. I just did one row of stitching, and I got the nastiest letter back with the bag. She guessed was having trouble with the zipper. It was catching on the fabric or whatever. That doesn't happen anymore, but this is when I first started. And with this nasty letter was, who in the, and I'll skip the word, only uses one row of stitching with zippers? And I was like, what? Okay, but every time I sew a zipper, I hear that woman yelling at me in her note. So my second tip or trick would be 2 rows of stitching with the zippers, and then move the needle position. So I don't know if the zipper attachment foot rather maybe makes it harder. But again, it's not abnormal to be terrified of zippers. I do have a couple tutorials with zippers in it, and I hope that that has made it easier for some of you. But also part of that design workshop that Ashley and I are going to get put together, we will address zippers and practice with that. So I hope that answers your question, Marie. You got anything else?
Yes, we have another question from M. Sereno. And it says, can you do a tutorial or something on how to sew a zip to a curve? I have an idea for a curved clutch, but don't know how to sew the zipper.
That sounds fun. If you can send me like just a little rough sketch of what you're trying to do, then I may be able to visualize that. With all of the designs that I come up with, I really have to visualize it first. I'm totally a visual learner. Hate patterns. Same thing. Don't like giving birth to bags. Hate patterns. Try not to make zippers hard. So if you can give me some kind of visual, I can't picture a curved zipper in my head, but if you can give me some type of visual, then I might be able to figure that out for you. And if I can figure it out, I'll be happy to help you. You got anything else? Okay. Did anybody tell us what's in their cup?
We did have a couple of people say what's in their cup. Let me go ahead and tell you.
You find the cups for us, and then I'm going to see what
Denise
else.
says she has espresso with Fairfield chocolate milk in a white beaded mug from Target.
Wow.
Carrie says she has coffee straight, no sugar, no cream. Ellen has iced water in their mug. What else do we have?
Anyone have hot water with lemon? That's supposed to be excellent for you. No one else?
And we also have Helen is drinking tea in her U.S. Army mug, but she's in the UK. And M. Sereno starts their days with hot green tea.
Oh, that's nice. Ever since last week, I've been drinking entirely way too much coffee. And so I'm down to like 4 hours of sleep at night, and my heart's just beating all the time. So I must start chilling. I think it's too late today. I've already had too much. So maybe tomorrow I can start decreasing that coffee. So I guess we are now our time is almost up. So I just want to do a last call for questions. There is, the zipper on the curve. I see that there. So I want to do one last call for questions and then kind of review the schedule for this week. And then I'm going to have Ashley too. One thing I was just really felt called to share with y'all, and you're going to have to give her a minute to grab it and me a minute to find it. But when we were sitting in the hospital, Ashley and I decided that we were going to stay with Darren overnight because it was a full moon, and it was a Tuesday, so it wasn't a weekend, thankfully, but things were really crazy out there at the nurses' station. And we thought about maybe that we might leave. And we said, we're just going to stay. So there's no bed or anything. We're just sitting in these chairs watching this heart monitor. And so I got out my journal and started writing down the lessons that I learned from this experience. And Ashley was looking over my shoulder, and I shared them with her. But I do really feel called to share them with you all because I am a firm believer that all things happen for a reason, and we can always learn, even in times of stress and sadness. So if you will grab my purse, I will flip to that page and I'll let Ashley scroll through and make sure you don't have any more questions. Somebody's having yummy hot water with apple cider. That sounds good. And hot water tastes quite nice. Just hot water. It's just the heat, honestly. And I could probably substitute my coffee for hot water and I wouldn't know any different. Okay, so I am what do you say, an avid journaler. It's unbelievable how much I journal. So I have to find, what was the date? Does anyone know the date last Tuesday? And then hopefully I can find it. Ashley and I also want to tell you guys something else really interesting. We were sitting here at like 10 minutes to 10 last Tuesday, and there's Monday, so I'm getting close. And I looked up at Ash. I was sitting here and she was sitting over there, and I said, so what do we do if something comes up and we can't host this thing? And she gave me the craziest look, and she goes, why wouldn't we be able to host it? And I said, I don't know, something happens, the power goes out or whatever. And she goes, well, then you'll just update them on social media. Like 2 seconds later, guys, girls, the phone rang and we were jumping in the car to the hospital. So intuition there, I kind of sense. It gives me chills to even say that, but that's how connected we get.
May 29th.
It was May 29th? Oh, I'm in the 25th. I'm a whole week behind schedule.
Someone said.
Okay. I believe them because it's June 4th. All right. Any other questions, honey?
Yes, we do have a couple of questions.
Throw it out there and I'll get that.
Debbie asked, have you used mesh to make pockets before?
I have, and we have our beach bag collaboration. We use the mesh for that, but I did a trick. Right. I didn't do a trick. I cheated. That's what I did. I cheated. And I bought a laundry bag because mesh by the yard is expensive. And I always try to save money when I'm sewing too. But mesh by the yard is expensive. So I bought a laundry bag for less than $2, a white laundry bag at Walmart. And I cut that. I still have half of the laundry bag left. And that is a cheap way to make a mesh pocket. And if you work with the seams and the binding that they already have on that laundry bag, it'll save you some steps and reinforce it too. So that's cool. I really, really hope I can find, I wrote it in this book, right? Okay, any more questions?
Or did you write them on your phone?
Oh, did I put them on my phone?
I think you did. Yes, you do have more questions though.
I'll look here.
Okay. Suzette asked, where do you buy your bag hardware?
Also, good question. I used to get it on Etsy, and I will put that list in the newsletter tomorrow. But now we got a Hobby Lobby in my town. And they have the top quality, best nickel and gold, and they even have like a blackish color hardware that I've ever seen. So I'll put both links in case you aren't fortunate enough to have a Hobby Lobby where you live, or maybe that's a misfortune because I spend way too much money at the Hobby Lobby. So thank you for that. I did put it on my phone, so apparently I was sitting there with the lights out. Okay, the lessons, and then we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to you for today. Lessons from the hospital. My first was, do not wait to fill your orders. I hate being late shipping my orders, and I was late. And then my second lesson was, if all is well, work ahead. My third lesson was, assume things will go wrong at some point. You all know I'm a big planner, but I think, what's that saying? The best laid plans. And then there's another one about that God just laughs when you make your plans. Next lesson, nurses are awesome. Our nurses, weren't they all amazing?
Yeah, they were awesome.
When we first arrived at the hospital, the nurse introduced herself to my husband, and then she goes, today I am, and do you remember her name? Soon, I think was the first nurse. She goes, today I'm Soon, but tomorrow I'll be Mother. And I thought that was very sweet. And then that same lady, when she came back the next morning and saw me after I'd spent the night sitting in that chair watching his heart rate monitor, she goes, I'm getting you a little stretcher. You need to lay down. So she was taking care of me. But then for the midnight shift, we had the most wonderful nurse. What was her name?
Casey.
Casey. She had blue hair. It was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. And the kids had gone out to get us some dinner and bring it back from Panera. And so we gave Casey a cookie. And she told us in the morning when she was leaving, she said, I know it was just a cookie, but that's all I got to eat last night because her
Yeah.
shift was insane. That's why we stayed the night. It was
Yeah.
a madhouse in there, and I think some of that was the full moon. But so if you could do something nice for your nurse, even a cookie, do it, boy, because they are amazing. Next lesson I learned: keep an emergency bag packed for everyone in your house. You don't ever know when you're spending the night in the hospital, right? So we wish that we had some things like a toothbrush would have been amazing. Thankfully, we do pack our lunch, and so I was able to grab our lunch with us. Um, my next lesson: life is fragile and the body is complex. I think that speaks for itself. My next one kind of ties on those beginning ones. This is probably my lesson in all of this. Planning is almost useless. Sometimes I think maybe I should just throw out the planner and totally be on the fly all the time. An important one here: God is showing me what matters. And boy, did I see what matters. Um, and then this one, you guys will appreciate this. I am so grateful for color, the color yellow. When he was first, he went to two different hospitals. And the first hospital was the, sincere emergency. They just have to get you somewhere as fast as they can. That whole place was gray. I love the color gray, but it was so depressing and dingy and tiny. And all we could see is just gray, gray, gray everywhere. And then when we got transferred to the next hospital, and I saw this yellow wall, and I just sat there and I was just like, I'm just so grateful for color, the color yellow, because everyone who then walked in that room that had been in the other one goes, this is so much better. And it was color. So don't ever underestimate, when we sew for people who aren't feeling well or make things. Like the beautiful crocheted blanket that I got was inspired by the color and the elephants. Don't ever underestimate the power of that and that extra gesture. So those were my lessons. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you to all of you. We will be here on Thursday with the vlog. So tomorrow's the newsletter. Thursday's the vlog. Saturday, we're going to sew. It's not going to be anything big because I'm still trying to find my footings here. I really am. So thank you. And until we meet again, the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. Have a beautiful day, everyone.